With support from the Center for Health and Well-Being, in the summer of 2019, I traveled to 9 archives to explore the papers of presidential science advisors and to study their role in American health policy and biotechnology. Over the course of my travels, I digitized over 15,000 documents and took hundreds of pages of notes, which will be indispensable to my dissertation research in the history of science. This presentation will outline some of my findings from the summer of 2019. Over the course of my trips, I discovered that from the 1970s through the 1990s, presidential science advisors were increasingly focused on how health policy and biotechnology research could serve the goals of increasing economic growth and American competitiveness in the global economy. In my research at the Nixon Library, I was interested to learn about how presidential science advisor Edward David played a crucial role in the biotechnology debate of the era over test tube babies. Because scientists at the time knew relatively little about this budding area of inquiry, Edward David was free to share his own judgment on this issue with the American public. David had predicted to Nixon top advisor John Ehrlichman that biological experimentation would not become a political issue, and with respect to the Catholic community and the Catholic vote. Not recognizing that this issue would become a politically charged one, David explained in an address to the National Academy of Sciences, "We must not place limits on biological experiments, including those that produce test tube babies." But David's statement caught the attention of high-ranking members of the Nixon cabinet as immediately controversial. David was forced to withdraw his statement, and from my research I found that future science advisors would not stir such kinds of controversy in the future. Amidst national economic crisis in the 1970s, President Gerald Ford appointed his science advisor, Guyford Stever, and tasked him with an explicit goal of deploying science to foster American economic growth, especially in the realm of biotechnology. As Stever confided to a colleague, "My new position will involve me in an even closer with the biomedical community than I enjoyed before," as he had previously served in other science administration positions. At the Gerald Ford Library, in addition to exploring the papers of Stever, I also explored the papers of the Domestic Policy Council to examine how Stever and other members of this council worked together to advise the president on DNA research guidelines and how biotechnology advancements might undergird future economic growth in the United States. During the Carter administration, the president's science advisor, Frank Press, was responsible for crafting a plan to increase industrial innovation for economic growth, and biotechnology was a key area of study in this policy planning process. I found my research at the Carter Library particularly exciting because Press's papers included extensive correspondence with the president himself. In the late 1970s, a growing movement from business lobbyists from budding sectors such as biotechnology began to advocate for laws to further their high-tech innovations. This is the stuff of the new industrial revolution, with the potential of opening up new international markets and creating millions of new jobs, Frank Press explained to President Carter in a memorandum about various new technologies in the biotechnology realm. In the end, Frank Press's industrial innovation plan included numerous proposals which helped foster the growth of biotech. In the administration of Ronald Reagan, the president's science advisor, George Keyworth, was involved in several initiatives to increase biotechnology innovation. Biotechnology came to be seen as a very rapidly growing industry within the Reagan cabinet. George Keyworth chaired a cabinet council working group to evaluate the future of the biotechnology industry and to propose what, if any, regulatory initiatives were needed. The Reagan administration did not seem to consider these issues from an ethical perspective. Primarily from an ethical perspective. Rather, their central concern was how much to regulate biotechnology while still allowing for economic growth. Keyworth emphasized that it was very important to present biotechnology to the public as being positive, as quote, being positive. We want to make sure that America is competitive, that we continue our competitive lead. The chief problem is not that biotechnology is regulated too much or too little, but that it is regulated awkwardly, another official in the Reagan administration explained. With diminished regulations, scientists would have the freedom to produce more profit-making innovations. In my research at the Clinton Library, I found that President Bill Clinton was particularly outspoken about technology's role in economic growth, and his advisor, John Gibbons, was front and center in these initiatives. The papers of Clinton's science advisor were a reminder that of not only how biotechnology was seen as central to economic growth, but also that business lobbyists placed immense pressure on the presidential administration at this time. All in all, my time at the presidential libraries, exploring how science advisors shaped health policy and fostered the growth of biotechnology, was a hugely rewarding experience. I am most grateful for the support of Princeton's Center for Health and Wellbeing.